Well, good morning and welcome to today's episode of Transformed. Today we're going to continue the Me 3 series, and today's subject is Love Covers All.
Welcome to today's message with Pastor Jim Balzano.
Thanks to Park Home for our studio furniture and Taylor Design and Events for designing our studio. Let me ask you a question. If you knew with certainty the year, month, day, hour, and minute you were going to die, how would it change the way you live? Or what if you knew the exact moment that Jesus was going to return? Maybe it would make no difference at all for you. My guess is most people would make some adjustments to their lives. Would you still hold on to offenses you have towards other people? Are there those that you would want to express your love toward in a manner you may have never done? I believe all of us would make some modifications in light of the exact knowledge of our step into eternity. The Apostle Peter wrote about believers living in the last days of chapter 4 of 1 Peter. He reminded his readers that as believers, they should live a self-controlled and sober-minded lifestyle because the end was at hand. I think it's interesting he connected the importance of their prayers to the self-controlled and sober-minded lifestyle. Verses 8 through 10 address how believers are to treat each other in light of the last days or the moment we transition into eternity. And before I address those specific points, I want to point out why he said believers were to live this way towards each other. He said, so that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus, to whom the glory and dominion belongs forever and ever. The foremost reason we're to live in a certain manner with others is to glorify Christ. Our interaction with others is to glorify Jesus. It is God first, others second, and me third. That is a life that will glorify Christ. Peter said to love one another earnestly because it covers a multitude of sins. What does he mean by that? How do you handle people who sin? Or how do you want people to handle you when you sin? Peter isn't suggesting that we are to be flippant in our dealing with sin, but he is suggesting we aren't to be flippant with how we handle the sinner. What does he mean by cover? First of all, let's consider what the opposite of cover means. The opposite cover is to expose that which has been covered. A meaning of the word cover is to hinder the knowledge of something. It's actually quite simple, I believe, what Peter was saying. If you have the knowledge of someone's sin, don't expose that person to others. He was not saying you don't address the person's sin, which you do in love, but he's telling believers in essence to keep their mouths shut about it to others who don't have any need to know about it. Why do we love to expose people's sin? Why is it that some people love to be able to tell others about the sin of other people? Doesn't that really reveal more about us than it does them? When you feel the need to expose someone's sin to those who don't need to know, you're entering into gossip, and you're failing to glorify Christ, and you're certainly not loving that person. I think an Old Testament example of this is Noah. You see, the Bible tells us that after he and his family came off the ark, and they lived on dry ground, he planted a vineyard. And when the vineyard produced fruit, the Bible says that Noah ended up drunk from the wine that was made from the grapes. The result of his drunken state left Noah lying inside of his tent naked. His youngest son, Ham, saw his father's nakedness, and then he told his two older brothers. And what did they do? They walked in backward with a garment on their shoulders and their faces looking away from their father's nakedness as they covered him. Ham exposed Noah's nakedness to his brothers, but the brothers covered their father's nakedness. In fact, they wouldn't even look upon it. When Noah woke up, the Bible says that he cursed Ham because of what he did to him. A lot of speculation has been given over the years as to what Ham did. And I don't know exactly what he may have done. I know for certain he exposed his father's weakness, vulnerability, and nakedness to others. The blessing went to the brothers who covered their father's nakedness. Sin is like a nakedness that can make people exposed and vulnerable. Sinful deeds need to be dealt with, but not in the spirit of Ham. The spirit of Ham exposed his father's nakedness and brought condemnation upon himself. Make no mistake about it. When we handle people's sin in an unloving and uncaring manner, we bring condemnation upon ourselves. The measure you use to judge is the measure by which you will be judged. Handling people's sin must be done in the spirit of the other two sons of Noah, as well as what 1 Peter 4:7 states, love covers a multitude of sin. You see, God first, others second, and me third will cause you to place a covering over the sins of people. Listen, not covering it to hide it, not covering it to not deal with it or have them deal with it, but you only uncover it to them and only those who have to know and are essential in knowing it. Nobody else needs to know. It doesn't need to be the matter of gossip. You see, because what happens is when we fail to cover a person's sin in love, it's uncovering our heart that is in need of transformation. But a heart that covers sin, I believe, is a heart that will glorify Christ. And so as we deal with people in their sin, I believe that we have to do it in that same fashion of me three, that I'm dealing with it in order to glorify God first. I'm dealing with it to deal with them second and to make them second in terms of importance, and then me third, which is sometimes denying that desire to tell or to speak of it or to uncover it. So, when you're dealing with sin, cover it. Cover the person. God first, others second, you third. Have a great week.